Alright, so this is a review for quiz number 2. Remember, you didn't miss quiz number 1. That's just the number refers to the week. So week 2 quiz. Okay, we didn't take a week 1 quiz, so there's no quiz number 1. But quiz number 2 is based on section 5.1 and 5.2, which is a lot of factoring and so um, the very first problem here we have a binomial divided by a monomial. So the way I told you guys to do this, I mean, you can do it many different ways, but I think maybe the easiest way to do it is to try to break this down into 2 parts, okay? Um, so there is this thing in Algebra 1 that basically says if you have 2 terms divided by 1 term, you can break it up, or actually it could be more than just 2 terms. It can be 3 terms, but divided by 1 term. You can break the fraction apart, okay? So since that's the case, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up this fraction, okay? So I'm going to write it as 6x squared over 24x, and then the other one's going to be a negative 3x over 24x. I have both terms right there. So I'm going to reduce. So 6 divided by 24, well, the 6 will become 1 and the 24 will become a 4, right? So that's going to be a 1/4. And then x squared divided by x, well, that's x to the first, or just x. So this is basically x over 4, okay? And then the bottom one, a negative 3 over 24, well, the negative is going to stay. And then the 3, that goes 1, and into 24 goes 8 times. That's 1, 8. And then the x's are going to cancel. So my answer is just minus 1/8. So the answer for this one is going to be x over 4 minus 1/8. And that's it. Now sometimes people ask me, is there another way we can try to do this? You can, if you want to, you can try doing it this way. So let me kind of show you here. I'll change the color. But some people, they were taught this way, which is fine. The top part, what do they have in common? Well, they have a 3x in common. So I'll take out a 3x. And then on the inside will be a 2x minus 1 over 24x. Now you can reduce 3 over 24 and you can cancel out your x's. So the x's will be gone. This will become a 1 and an 8. So this becomes 2x minus 1 over 8. Now that's actually the same answer as this one right here. The only difference is 2x minus 1 over 8. I simplified it. I've broken it apart and simplified, right? Either one will be a good answer, however you'd like to do it. Some people like to factor out and reduce. Some people like to break it apart. My habit has always been when you're dividing by one single term, so one monomial, I always break it apart because it makes it into smaller little problems that I can use. But you can do it however you want. There's 2 different ways. But yeah, I recommend the stuff in red because it makes it smaller problems. But if you prefer working it as one big problem like the green, that's fine too. That'll work. No problem. Okay? But either one is correct. And if you're wondering, like, how the heck is he saying that that's the same thing? Look, I can break up 2x over 8 minus 1 over 8, and 2 over 8, that's 1/4. That's x over 4 minus 1/8, right? This is the same thing. So it's the same answer. So again, I know they look different, but it's the same thing. Okay? So you do it however you'd like. Like I said, I usually teach the red method, but the green method works just fine. So that was one of them. Like I said, we have 6 of them we're going to do. Not all of them take forever. Near the end they get longer. All right, so this one right here, 10 over 2t times 2t, I'm going to put over 1. Okay? Now, At that point, I'm going to start trying to do cross cancellation. Now, notice 2t can cancel the diagonal other 2t, right? So these can cancel here and here. So that's just basically 10 over 1 times 1 over 1, which is just 10. So stuff like that can happen. It's not a big deal that things all kind of got canceled out. That does occur. So, and there will be questions like that on your quiz where everything kind of cancels out except for maybe numbers. So that's example 2. Example 3. Now notice this is already pre-factored for us, right? So if you remember in some of the homework we had some problems that were pre-factored in the front and you turned it over and you had to factor it on your own back. That's kind of where we're moving. So this has already been pre-factored. So usually I'll tell you guys, like when you're doing this stuff, look for any binomials. Binomials, you might want to put parentheses around them. So notice I'm going to put a parenthesis around the x plus 1. Okay. And then since this has been pre-factored, I recommend canceling out the big chunks first, rewrite it, and then go after the small chunks. So by big chunks, I mean, notice I can cancel out an x plus 1 and an x plus 1 because one on top of the other, right? So that's gone. And then notice I can also cancel out x minus 3. So x minus 3, x minus 2. Now I know I can do more, but I'm just going to rewrite it for now. Okay, 6 over 12x times 1 over 1. Just to not make it too many. And now I'm going to try to get rid of letters and numbers, right? So 6 over 12, I know I can reduce that. The 6 can go into itself once, into 12 twice. And there's nowhere I can cancel out the x on the bottom. So that looks like this. 1 over 2x and 1 over 1. Okay? So if I multiply straight across, I get 1 over 2x, and this would be my answer. Again, these are some of the easier problems because the fact that everything kind of cancels itself out, and they've been pre-factored for. The real work starts when we have a bunch of trinomials and they're just there. We have to break them apart ourselves, which is tough. Okay. So the first 3 that we've done, like I said, pretty simple, right? This one you could either break it apart or take out a GCF. Either way works. This one, when you cancel stuff out, it just kind of disappears, so you're left with just a number, so that's fine. This one right here looks more complicated, but since it is all factored out for us, it's easier for us to deal with. Just kind of cancel things out and move on. So here we go. We're getting into the ones that are not factored, so we're going to have to do it ourselves. I do notice the x minus 2 on the bottom right fraction. So the bottom of the right fraction cannot be factored at all. So I'm just going to kind of put a parenthesis around that. But I know the bottom left fraction and the top right fraction, those I can take stuff out of. So I am going to do that. So, all right. So we're going to take this in parts. Okay. Can I do anything to the 4, the top left? So I'm going to write it down. Well, I can't factor it. I can't do anything to it. So guess what? I'm just going to write it down. Okay. Then I move on to the bottom of the left side. So 12x plus 8. What could I do with that? Well, anything I can factor out a 2. Can I go bigger? 4. Can I go bigger, or is that as big as I can go? 4 is as big as I can go. All right. Take out a 4. So that's going to be a 3x plus 2. So 4 times 3x plus 2. So you should already notice those 4's just cancel out. All right, moving on to the next one. Top right fraction. 30x plus 20. What can I take out from that? A 10, right? So that's 10. 3x plus 2. 10 times 3x plus 2. And then the very last one, the bottom right side, the x minus 2. It's not 3 terms, so no x method. It is 2 terms. It's a difference, but not a 2. squared. Remember, in order for it to be two squared, that the variable has to be squared. So it's not just two squared, and they don't have a GCF. So basically, it's the way we left it, right? X minus. So let's start, canceling things out. So you take out the big chunk first, 3x plus 2, 3x plus 2. That's fine. I can also get rid of this 4 with this 4 completely. So all that's left is 1 over 1 times 10 over x minus 2. Well, the 1 over 1 is not going to do anything, so my answer is going to be 10 over x minus 2. Remember, do not reduce 10 with 2. You can't do that, right? So this is going to be our answer right here. All right, so that one's done. Not too bad, no X method, just a real quick GCF. That's all we rated coming down. All right, I said we had 6 of them. That means these next ones are going to be a little bit more tricky. This one is not as long as the 6th one. This is just more us kind of getting into the habit of breaking down trinomials. Okay. Now, I do want you guys to notice the top trinomial. I can't take out a GCF. Before I even start just going into the X method, I can reduce it a little bit. Right? I can take a 2 out from the top. So I'm going to put a 2 here. That'd be 2n squared minus 6n plus 2. The bottom, I can't do much with it, so it's n squared minus 2n plus 1. Oh, I'm sorry, minus 3. Thank you for that. I'll give you some extra right here. And that should be a 1 right there. I factored out the first one. I forgot to factor out the last one. Yeah, it should be a 2n squared minus 3n plus. Thank you for that. And at this point, I'm going to start doing the X method for both. Okay, so let's start off with, I'm going to leave a 2 here. Let me start off with the top. So 2n squared minus 3n plus 1. A is 2, B is negative 3, C is 1. So that means my top part is a 2, my bottom part is a negative 3. And two numbers that multiply to negative 3 to add up to, multiply to 2 to add up to negative 3 will be negative 1 and negative 2. But I got to divide those by 2. So the first one's going to stay a negative half. The other one will become a negative 1. This is n minus half, n minus 1 over 2n minus half, n minus 1. So I'm going to put that right here. And then I'm going to do the next problem. The bottom part. So n squared minus 2n plus 1. My a is 1. B is negative 2. C is 1. So a times c, that's 1. And b is negative 2. So it's going to be negative 1 and negative 1. But I don't have to divide by anything because a is 1. So these are my two factors. So n minus 1, n minus 1. So I put that right here. And now we're going to start canceling stuff out, right? The only thing I can get rid of is an n minus 1 on top and an n minus 1 on the bottom. That's it. So I'm just going to rewrite my result, and I'm done. This will be 2 times 2n minus 1 over n minus 1. Okay? And that's it. That's number 5. So again, for number 5, we had a trinomial divided by a trinomial. What I had to do first, for this problem, is I factored out a GCF. Remember, anytime you're doing factoring problems, always ask yourself, can I take out something to start off, to make it easier, right? Can I reduce it by factoring out a 2 start doing my X method for both of them, cancel out what they had in common, and then rewrite my system. Okay? So for number 5, this one was a little bit tougher, but notice we didn't have to multiply and cross cancel anything sideways, so or diagonally, shall I say. So that's going to be example 6. Then we're going to be done. Okay? Once we are done with the review, remember you guys don't have homework today. It's just practice, right? Study, practice. And then if you have homework you still have to finish, work on that right now. If you still haven't done your Alex, you can work on that right now once we're done. Just try to get your stuff done so that you're prepped and not behind. So let me double check. I think it's only 6. Yeah, it's only 6 problems. Now remember, in the homework, I think there was one problem where we had 3 trinomials and 1 binary. Right? This one has 2 trinomials, 2 binaries. So we're going to start off top left side, and I'm going to start to factor that out. So a squared minus 4a plus 3, where my a term is 1, b term is negative 4, with 3, so that's 3, and a negative 4, that's going to be minus 1, and minus 3. Those add up to negative 4, they multiply to 3, so I'm going to put a circle around it, because I don't have to divide by 1. So my factor is a minus 1, a minus 3. So that goes on top. A minus 1, a minus 3. Okay? Now the bottom left. Bottom left is 4a plus 32. So 4a plus 32. It's not 3 terms, so no X method. It is 2 terms, but it's not a difference, so it's not a difference of 2 squares. That means GCF is all I can do, maybe, but I can take out a 4, and then this leaves me with a plus 8. 4 times a plus 8 times. Going on to the next problem here. I have a squared minus 2a minus 80. So a squared minus 2a minus 80. So I know my a is 1, b is negative 2, c is negative 80. So that's negative 80 on top, and negative 2 on the bottom. What 2 numbers should I use? Negative 10, yeah, negative 10 and 8. And I got to divide by 1, which doesn't do anything, so negative 10 and 8, that's going to be a minus 10, a plus 8. And just in case you're wondering, like, man, how would I know to do that? You see how the bottom part has an a plus 8 on the left side? There's an a plus 8 as a factor. That means there's a possibility that it's going to get canceled by another a plus 8, another 8 value. So it kind of made me want to think, like, can I get an 8 plus 8 from this somehow, right? So I'm thinking 8 and 10, right? So I'm kind of planning ahead as I do this to think, like, what would work. Now, it doesn't mean it always happens, but sometimes it does. So I'm going to put a minus 10, a plus 8. Now, notice I do have a 8 plus 8 that match, right? So now I know, like, okay, those are going to go away. Now let's do this last one here, which is a minus 10. But a minus 10, if I just kind of write it really quick, it's not an X method. It's not a difference of 2 squares. I can't do a GCF. So basically, it is what it is, a minus 10. So there you go. Now just start canceling things out. So let's start off with the a minus 10, because they're pretty obviously there. And I know the a plus 8 will cancel out. Okay? After that, it looks like everything else is going to stay, so I'm just going to write my answer. A minus 1, a minus 3, over 4 times 1 over 1. But the 1 over 1 isn't going to do anything, so a minus 1, a minus 3 over 4. And that's it. So this is what you guys are going to be doing for your test tomorrow.